Okay, so here's part 2 of my abusive peer mentor story. As they always say, if you haven't seen part 1, go watch it before you watch this one. Okay, so part 2 of the story starts when our relationship really went downhill. Now, what happened was that my refrigerator had accidentally gotten unplugged one day for some reason, and all of the food went bad, so I had to throw it all out. But she wanted to have none of that. A bit of backstory, she was always yelling at me for throwing things away, even though it was my stuff and she had no say in what I did with it. So immediately, when she sees me cleaning out my fridge, she starts yelling at me for throwing my spoiled food away. Even though I explained to her that it had all gone bad, she refused to listen to me and just continued to yell at me for throwing spoiled food away. She immediately gets up from her seat from what she was doing and starts going through everything in my fridge, touching my stuff without my permission, and completely ignoring everything I told her. I would have argued with her over it, but the thing is, at that moment we were supposed to be babysitting a little girl, and I didn't think it was appropriate or polite to argue in front of children. So finally, I just started breaking down in tears, saying I didn't want things to turn into a fight. And then she exploded at me. Okay, you know what? Fine. If you don't want my help, that's all right. Again, I tried explaining to her what I meant and, everything, but she just interrupted me and shouted, "No, shut up!" And it seemed like she always wanted to shut off reality just to cater to what she thought was right. I immediately run to my room, shut the door, and I started talking to my parents about what she had put me through for comfort and catharsis. I was just explaining how difficult she was being and how she wanted to control me and all that I did and such. But that moment, even though I tried to be as quiet as possible, she had to stalk me and eavesdrop on my conversation. For 10 seconds later, after I hung up with my parents, she starts knocking on my door, explaining how hurt she was over what I had told my parents. Apparently, it hurt her feelings because I was saying the truth about her, and I wasn't at all using insulting terms to talk about her. And I wasn't even yelling at her anyway. She tried to explain that she had every right to stop me from throwing away my food because she told me she thought it was perfectly good, but I told her, "You don't have the right to tell me what to do with what I buy with my own money." And then she freezes, stammers, and then says, "You know what, you do have a point there." Exactly. I had a feeling that after that moment she was going to be more bitter towards me than ever, but a part of me was still hoping that things would still be okay between us. But after that moment, starting the next morning, she started giving me the silent treatment without any explanation whatsoever. No matter how nice I tried to be to her, no matter what I did to try, conversing with her, she would always respond with silence or to ask me for money I owed her one time. I'd try to start conversing with her for reassurance that things would still be better, and she would ignore me. Then one day, after she yelled at me for a minor misunderstanding at the building of the school, when we got home, she fully admitted why she was giving me the cold shoulder. She said I was being, as I quote, very mean and very hurtful towards her. What? Okay. Where I was being mean, it's most likely that I was sticking up for myself, or it was right after she had hurt me first. Then she said, "I decided to keep my distance from you because I figured that's what you wanted." Of course, me trying to converse with this crazy psycho, saying good morning, hey, how are you doing, when she was outright ignoring me, is pure evidence of that. I did want to talk things out between her, but I was afraid on how to approach it considering her silent treatment towards me, and she was almost always accusing me of being the problem, even though I was practically being a doormat to her. The stress started to take its toll on me, and because of what she was putting me through, I couldn't focus on my work, and then one time I made a mistake on something. Not to go into detail as to what it was, but, well, all of my professors were going easy on me with it. She kept on reprimanding me for it. and she kept on reprimanding me for it and was basically telling me that I was on thin ice and putting all of this, I don't know the right word for it, but worry on my mind, so to speak. But after a week or two, I fixed everything, and all was all right with me, or so I thought. Soon after I fixed things, one night she gave me a great big reason why you suck speech, and accusing me of being manipulative and how I didn't really have any problems, though problems being my Asperger's and anxiety, and how I wasn't as good of a person as I was making myself out to be, and I told her I would give her clear evidence that I wasn't as bad as she was making me out to be. But how does she respond? I don't want to see it! She really wanted to believe that I was a bad person, and I was the reason things were strained between us, and that speech still really hurts me this day. Just really makes me upset when I think about it. Days later, when I asked for an apology for all of those things that she said to me, she flat out refused. I beg your pardon? You hurt someone's feelings and you refuse to apologize for it? I mean, that time when I was talking to my parents in that previous refrigerator incident and she eavesdropped on me, she complained about how her feelings were hurt, but this time she didn't seem concerned about mine. Then, for one reason or another, I let it slip that I talked to my parents about the things that she said to me in that rant she was giving me, and then she started to get all pissed off. She retreated to her room, and again, I tried to talk things out and explain everything to her, but she just kept on shushing me and said, no, when I tried to. After retreating to her room and refusing to allow me to explain things, she instead yelled at me more and said to me, you want an apology? Here you go. I'm sorry for whatever it is I did. Yelling at it instead of telling it gently. One of the most insincere apologies ever. And that pretty much proved to me that we were never going to get along. And she would just continue to selfishly assume that I was the bad one. After the celebration dinner we went to, when we were coming back from the restaurant, I burst into tears just thinking about how nothing I did to get her to warm up towards me worked. Then she comes, sits down next to me on the bus, and asks if I'm all right, but that was only because other students were pointing out that I was crying and upset. Note that I have a feeling that she only did nice things, if I could call them that, to me if she was around other people, just to keep her image good, but behind closed doors, she was really cruel and heartless towards me. So anyways, after she sits down next to me, she started asking me a long list of reasons as to why I was upset, but I don't think once did she ask me if it was something she did. I kept on telling her that I wanted to fix it on my own, but she still continued to interrogate me about it, not leaving me alone when I asked her to, just like in the beginning. And then 2 days later, when the semester finally ended, she didn't even give me a proper goodbye. And there you have it. That was my story. The person that was supposed to be caring for me in the group was a horrible person, and I didn't think anyone else in the group would believe me, so I just kept silent about her the whole time. And this really did cause a great amount of psychological damage within me because I never knew what I was doing wrong. I was really getting hurt by these actions, and it really hurt how I always saw her laughing and talking and having fun with the rest of the group, yet when I tried to join in, she would just ignore me. And this proves that I was her least favorite student in the whole group. Even if I wasn't, this was how I saw it. To everyone, she was a cool big sister figure, but to me, I was Cinderella, and she was my stepmother. I tried to be as best as I could be towards her, even going so far as to be a doormat, but for some reason, she wanted to see me as an evil person. And there you have it. So that's it for this story, and until then, this is Hyper Galaxy, signing out.